they had to kind of confront their faith on their own, and since they didn't have the kind of weak tradition of, oh, well, you go to church every Sunday anymore, since they didn't have to do that anymore, they don't.
Oh, and then maybe the parents went based off of tradition, and as we talked about earlier, young people aren't as affected by tradition.
So I think another thing that, kind of a pivotal thing that happens when someone moves away from their parents is, up until that point, they may have gotten baptized, they may have come to Christ, but they may not have really established their own faith. They're kind of piggybacking on their parents' faith, and until they're out on their own, they have to make all of their own decisions, or most of their own decisions anyway. Until that point, they haven't really decided for themselves. Mm-hmm. And you can decide for yourself really strongly even before you move away. You can do that. I think in a lot of cases it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But it's very easy, especially growing up, and especially if you're like a preacher's kid or something like that, to kind of assume like, oh, I grew up in a good Christian family, or my dad's a preacher or something like that. Therefore, I am also going to be a good Christian. And they just assume that they're always going to be that the way they currently are. And so then they don't really have their own faith. They kind of piggyback on their parents' faith, and then when that's taken away, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When it's taken away, they have not yet fully dedicated themselves on their own, and you have to do it on your own. Because nobody else can make a saving decision for you, right? Mm-hmm. I said that's something I was thinking about. It's kind of like a pivotal thing is that, well, even you think like the Hebrews, Jesus was talking to them, and he's, they took such great stock in the fact that they were descendants of Abraham, and they a lot of times thought that because they were descendants of Abraham, they were in the right. They were God's chosen people, right? Mm. And then, some of the things Jesus said to them were like, well, like I say to you, like God is able to raise up children of Abraham from these stones. And similar things to the effect of like, your parents aren't going to get you into heaven. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you're a preacher's kid or not.
Yeah, at some point you have to have your own faith. It's completely independent of your parents. Mm-hmm.
And so in some ways, well, we think of growing up in a Christian household or being a preacher's kid as being like a really big advantage. And it is advantage insofar as like you're growing up, you are strongly exposed to the scripture and to the existence of God, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you grew up in some households, you wouldn't get that. So it is somewhat of an advantage, but it isn't an advantage in that you still have to make all the same decisions yourself.
Yeah.
You still have to get to the same place as if you didn't grow up in a Christian household, except you're much more liable to thinking that you've already gotten there. Mm-hmm. That's the way I see it. Hey, thanks for watching. This clip came from an episode of our podcast, which we will have a link in the description below for you to watch the full thing, see more discussion about this topic and other topics.